Let's see. All right. Is that? Let me turn that up. Is it too quiet? Yeah, late night stream. Here we go. Is that coming through okay? Let's close some of these other sites and apps and things we don't need right now. Okay. We are quitting that. Excellent. Let's move this over there. It does indeed. Vue does accept the I++ or the I minus+. It does. I like to do a plus equals 1, but yes, it does do plus. That's a JavaScript. Plus minus. Yep. It's definitely part of it. We are working on a game called Dura. This is going to be a pared down version of Pyroclasm. Had a little bit of scope crisis over the past couple weeks. We put in a lot of functionality for Pyroclasm, but then there were so many different things that needed values for balance, for the combat, and for the progression. It was so much at once, it got a little overwhelming. So we took out some of the bones and made a smaller project. The objective here is to come up with something that we can ship next week to mobile and to web. So we want to be code complete, ideally be code complete by the end of the week. Next week, maybe add in some of the sprite graphics that we had lined up for Pyroclasm. None of the maps, just some of the sprite graphics, but really focus on getting the Vue app to deploy on mobile, sort all that stuff out, and by the end of next week, we'd be in the app stores with a small single player, incremental RPG, incremental idle app for free. Nice little free app there. A couple more things to quit, and then we're going to go ahead and start. I've rigged this up tonight to show both the mobile view of the app and the desktop view. So as we start talking about the layout, the design, the responsiveness with Bootstrap and Vue, you can see the changes both in the smaller mobile view as well as what it'll look like on desktop. And I think let's see. All right. Cool. So go ahead and close that. All right. So what we have here is we have a pretty simple game. Oh, and what was it? Rinzai came up with a bunch of notes here for our questing system that I want to go over. In fact, let me go ahead and go into our nav and change. We're not going to call this story, we're going to call this quests. Yeah, and that's going to be right up there. And let me see if I can go ahead and just increase the size there. So it's a little easier to see there. Up at the top, we have the name of the game, and then gold and wood. We have skill points, and I'm actually about to take that out because skill points is not going to be one of the features that we're shipping with. Not at the moment. The real challenge with this game has been simply scope creep. Just how does that look now if we took that out? And I need to do a little bit of padding there. It's been so, I mean, I love working on roleplay games. Margin 3. Oh, let's see. I love working on roleplay games. I love working on strategy games. The issue, you know, of course, just like with Dungeons and Dragons and any sort of campaign like this, like there's too much content. There's too many features. There's too many things that can fit in here. You know, pets and skills and spells and equipment and inventory and upgrade. You know, this is why roleplay games are the most hardest ones to make, because there's so much content. So many features that you'd want to fit in there. Okay, that looks good. So I got gold and wood up there. Right, and so let's see. Let me pull up. Okay, so we have our tavern. Okay, she's called it the tavern, where quests can be accessed as well as the cap upgrades. I'm going to call it quests for now, just so it's really straightforward. Then we have our regions, right? I'll just walk everyone through this for a second. Regions, these are your in idle and incremental games, right? It's all a balance of faucets and sinks, right? Where are your resources coming from, and where are they going to? So the regions, this is essentially where the players start out with their first faucet. I've got a region called the Marvelous Golden Thicket. It's producing gold and it's producing wood, and I can use wood to upgrade the rate at which I'm gathering. So yeah, we'll just do a little upgrade there. So that's good. Wood is used on the region page. That is the currency for the region page. Now when I go over to my party page, the way this is rigged up, here, let me just see. Let's see. Produce resources such as gold and wood. Wood is used to upgrade the resource production in that particular region. And we'll get to the point where as you unlock, do more things in the game, you'll get more and more regions. Your starting region has gold and wood. From there, a region can be gold or wood or both. Wood is used to upgrade, yeah, whether that upgrades gold or yeah. Then the party. So again, right, it going back to role-playing games and the sort of the trifecta. A tank, a DPS, and a support, right? The different roles. And I really like the idea of having a more complicated system by having more party members. It provides a lot more strategy and problem solving than just having a single character that is somehow going to brute force their way through all of combat, because at the end of the day, it's very likely that everyone just builds the same character. And if you give people more options, the likelihood that people find different builds, different configurations of these things will help. Now, and this has been the challenge, we want to finish this game functionally within the next 48 hours, right? So that next week we're putting in a few sprite graphics here and there, and we're focused on getting it into the App Store. That is the goal of the hackathon next week, really shipping the game. So here, the party is made up of 3 members. The shield is your tank and has 6 pieces of equipment that you can use gold to upgrade. And this is a neat feature that Rinzai and I worked on today, which is essentially when you upgrade a piece of equipment to a certain point, almost like a little skill tree comes down where you could then upgrade those things as well, and then you can do that again. right? So there's some, excuse me, some depth in there. The sword is your DPS. So same sort of structure, still 6 pieces of equipment, but instead of being more health and armor based, this one's just, focused on damage. Lastly, the soul is your support class. This one is configured to be like a bard. So I'm not exactly sure how this one will work yet, but I like a couple of attributes like the vocals and the instruments, rather than thinking about, I'm upgrading a sword or a helmet or armor or boots. Here you're upgrading basically your ability to sing or your instrument skills, and then the bottom 4 are different sorts of songs, like a Starlight Summoning, a Body Sea Shanty, the Hymn of the Wind, the Earth Soul Chant. And so what we got to try to figure out here in the next 48 hours is how do these work? Is it like a passive boost to one of the other two or both, or is it like an RNG? You have a 10% chance of this one triggering and giving some sort of boost. So we have some area here to explore that and figure that out. Let's see. The party gold is used, and this is where your gold is used. So your regions produce wood and gold. Gold, the sink for gold is the party. Cool. And then we have combat, and combat is maybe where I want to make the most amount of progress tonight. It is a blank string. Every region I have comes with not only a faucet for resources, but also this associated combat. And there's a mob here that you can fight. Right now these are all goblins. If I explore a bit more, orcs come in, ogres come in, orcs, goblins. Now, all of my regions will produce for me every tick, which is every 6 seconds. But I can only fight one of these combat at a time. So every tick, every 6 seconds. Or in this case, I think I've actually boosted up so it's every 1 second, just because it's not a multiplayer game. We don't have to slow it down. Excuse me. I can only fight one of these at a time. Yeah, and here's some of the other life cycle here. We're gonna take a look at notes here. I'm gonna switch over to code view for a second here, so we can take a look at this. Awesome. And I had a bit of a roadmap where I wrote down a lot of these notes, but I also want to bring in what Rinzai just wrote up today, and I'll go ahead and increase the size of this a bit. The life cycle, so what we just talked about was the different views. The life cycle of the game progression, right? Region leads to party upgrades leads to combat completes quests, completing quests unlock new regions. So that's good. The more regions you have and acquire, that will boost the party's development. While boosting the party development boosts combat. Yeah, this is what we just said. That's great. When completing progression milestones within combat, you will earn heroic points, which in turn can increase your cap in certain areas. So if we go back to this kind of quest, and this is why, like, I get why we may end up calling it the tavern, but essentially in the tavern there's going to be someone that you can buy deeds from, so that unlocks the additional regions. There's like your overseer, or your gathering guild master, and that will dictate the cap for how much you can upgrade one of these faucets, as well as like a smith that you need to upgrade, and that will dictate the cap on the number of upgrades you can do. And all of that will be done maybe in the tavern or the town or this quest screen. And that's done with a currency called heroic points for now. And heroic points are earned. It's not visually here. Actually, I actually have this here. Let me just turn this on so you guys can see this. If I open up the progress bar, Why didn't that show progress here? Oh, let me open up the progress bar. Now it should render. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a little bit more space. You can see there's the name of the mob, the level of the mob, and then kind of a 0 of 100. This is a progress bar that'll fill up. Every time that progress bar fills up, you will get a heroic point, and the mob will become tougher. You will stop fighting level 1 goblins and go up to level 2 goblins, then level 3 goblins, then level 4 goblins. And every time that bar fills up, you will get an amount of heroic points. So that's the kind of the game loop, right? Regions upgrade the party. Party makes you successful in combat. As combat bars fill up, then you can go back to the tavern and upgrade there and continue on. So that's sort of the thing there. Let me go into the roadmap. Okay. When completing progression milestones, you earn heroic points. For example, you will need to kill 50 goblins to earn 1 heroic point. Then to tier up, you must, yeah. And also in the tavern, we could have some additional quests that were unrelated to filling the bar. So filling the bar would be your primary way of getting it. But we can also have some standalone quests in the tavern that when those are completed, you would get an additional heroic point. Let's see. Okay. Questing with a purpose. First set of milestones will sort of be like a tutorial. Yeah. After each milestone, you get the option to increase the party count. Yeah, regions, party upgrade. Quests progressively get harder, more complex as you reach milestones. Quest completion helps you unlock new regions or content. And I think the easiest way to kind of communicate this is to, again, think if we have someone in the tavern that's going to sell you deeds, right? And the first deed costs 1 heroic point. The second deed costs 2 heroic points, then 4, then 6, right? Regions for gathering. Each region has its own base mob. In that case, the goblin. The tier level will be determined and the level of the current mob, which is upgraded each time you reach the milestone, which is completing that bar. Further upgrades for regions. So this may be out of scope for what we originally wanted to do. I was thinking, just like here, I'm going to transition back. Like you see over here on the left-hand screen, the mobile view. Under the Warhammer are 2 other skills, and then under Bash are 2 other skills that sort of like, as you upgrade, there's more and more depth to that. I was originally thinking something similar for the region screen, right? As either the goblin increases or the number of upgrades, basically to think, hey, I'm clearing out goblins. I'm clearing out goblins. So more of the region is accessible to me. Maybe I'm finding a second gold mine. Maybe I'm going deeper in the gold mine and I'm finding another resource or more resources. Right? Again, increasing the numbers and perhaps even the types of faucets. I think that's going to be difficult to balance in the next 48 hours. So I think for the version 1.0, I don't think we're going to upgrade the regions. I think just simply getting combat in place and the quest screen or the tavern in place will be good. But I would like to make the regions eventually a little bit more in depth. There's the biggest challenge is with an RPG, it's like where do you kind of stop creating content, creating new features, creating an endless roadmap. One of the things I see with folks that want to develop RPGs is they almost brag about their endless roadmap, and that's okay. But make sure you actually know when to ship code and when to kind of stop and make sure that what you are trying to put on the screen in your game works. Right? Okay. The region tier level will reflect your party's upgrades as requirement. So the region tier will reflect your party's upgrades, such as equipment, unlocking essential skills. So I don't think that's entirely true. Region tier will reflect the amount that you have your party upgrades. It'll be kind of like your party successes, right? Not necessarily the upgrades, but how much time, because this was the thought in my mind. To upgrade from goblins level 1 to level 2 to level 3, you are committing your party to clearing out that region. So regardless of upgrades, it's about time spent fighting in that region. That is what would upgrade the region, because more of that wilderness would become accessible to your settlers, to your community. Let's transition back here. Okay. Regions for combat. Each point here allows you to earn heroic points. Yep. These points can be used to increase cap on regions and parties. Yep. And I would say buy deeds, right? Not only the cap on regions, cap on region upgrades, but buying the deeds. Even if you don't complete milestone due to mob being too hard, you will still earn a portion of gold, possibly. And I think, yeah, we will probably need to reward something. This is like down maybe after the version 1.0. This is why skill points was originally in there as the combat currency. You could earn skill points even if you weren't progressing on that bar, right? The bar progresses when you win combat, but even when you lose combat, because I don't want to put in an experience system. I don't care about individual characters' levels. Though that would be a way to kind of measure this. Over time, the party needs to get stronger. So you could reward gold, or I was thinking you could reward like skill points, and then in addition to upgrading equipment, you would also have skills. But since we're not launching with skill points for right now, having the combat reward gold would be okay. I would also say, like we could put the onus on gold production, just leave it straight to regions. We could do that, and maybe there's always, like, even if you lose combat, it moves that progression up, but maybe at, like, instead of a win in combat counts as 1 point, maybe a loss in combat counts as like 0.1, right, or something like that, or 0.05 or something like that, so that you are incrementally still getting there. If we reward, we'll probably end up rewarding with gold, just so that now you have 2 faucets providing gold, 1 combat, 1 region. In time, the better balance would be to add another currency. Is there a limit to goblin level? So no. Technically what we want is there not to be a limit to anything. The quantity of regions, the upgrades on the region, the goblin. So every time you fill that goblin bar, it would go up. But goblin level 2 would be a harder mob than goblin 1. Goblin 3 would be a harder mob than goblin 2, right? So eventually you're like, hey, like on this screen, on my combat screen, I've got a list of all my different mobs I can fight, and maybe we could have a couple like, hey, sort by weakest or whatever. You're right. The challenge has been like, because in my mind, I'm like, cool, so we could have mobs of different types. That means they could have different drop tables. They can give different resources. And I've had to pull all of that back. Probably we'll put that stuff in October after we at least ship our 1.0, right? We can start expanding this, right? Because Pyroclasm had all that stuff, right? We had drop tables for pet stuff, for crafting stuff, for spell stuff, for skill stuff. But it just got too much to try to balance it all. So we're just going to start here, basic, make sure we can ship, and then from there, after we get people playing this, then we can go ahead and start adding in a second currency, a third currency, stuff like that. But again, the goal is really not to have a cap on anything. Over time, you will just earn additional things that will help you level up. The one thing we gotta watch out for is if we do cap, right? There's only so many upgrades I can do with wood before I need before I cap these things out. I would need eventually more heroic points to either buy more deeds or something like that. Yeah, so this will be good to figure out during the play testing. Making sure that there's not someone that's just like accumulating millions and millions of wood waiting for their next um, thing to unlock because we've actually capped the upgrades. There needs to be a way to maybe transmute some of the extra wood into gold, or this is where you can even have quests that's just like, hey, accumulate 1,000 gold, 10,000 gold, 100,000 gold, right? 1,000,000 gold, 10,000,000 gold, just to unlock a few more heroic points. Okay, I'm just gonna finish out these notes. You will have 3 roles in your party: shield, tank, sword. The nice thing here, and this is something I was talking with Rinzai about, something that we're trying to do at Sly Boots, which is the studio. Yay. But this consistency when it comes to, or this almost like brand identity when it comes to these strategy games, where the combat will always be at a certain level of complexity, and then let that complexity get more complex. But there's a minimum amount of complexity. I don't want like a single player game, like a single character game. I always want you to have to figure out a tank, DPS, support, minimum scenario. In Pyroclasm, you could pick between what your character was, and then you were in a party with other players, right? And then that would play out. In here, you're controlling all 3. But that is something we want. Like I want us to figure out how a 3-role game works. Maybe there's 3 members, maybe there's 4 members, 5 members. There's always 3 roles. But if we can figure out the balance here, it'll lend itself a lot when we want to move over to a multiplayer game, because we know how then equipment upgrades will work, some skill upgrades will work, how people, and essentially our combat calculations should be identical whether they're a single player game or a multiplayer game. All that we're allowing people to do in a multiplayer game is, hey, I'm going to pick one of these 3 roles and funnel my resources into that particular role. In Dura, you are going to be in charge of upgrading all 3 of your characters, and I'm not too worried about the gold sinks right out the game, right at the start, because immediately when the game first starts, you have 3 characters, all with 6 pieces of equipment. So that's 18 things to sink your gold into. And the moment you get these to a certain level, maybe, you're going to start to see these additional sinks, right? So I think that's great. I think there's going to be plenty of stuff to sink the gold into, at least from the start. For the wood, Rinzai, I think we may even want just like almost think of like a global boost, right? Like I'm upgrading this one particular region, but maybe there is like a global boost, but that global boost has an extremely high cost, but it would at least prevent people from essentially stockpiling tons of wood with nothing to spend it on. At least in this case, there's always something to spend it on. There's always a sink available for wood, right? And so we can figure out what that is going to be. It could just be we'll need to figure that out, because the tavern system I think works really well, but I can see, unlike at the start of this game here, I'm just going to refresh and I'll lose my progress. At the start of this game, this is it. And maybe within the first 5 minutes, it looks like this. But then that's it, right? There's only four things to upgrade with my wood, versus when I go over to the party screen and just right out the gate, there's 18. So we may want to think about adding something here to eat up that wood. Okay. Each role will have their own equipment. Yep. Equipment will have gold. Yep. And then the faucets and sink, right? Faucets, the gold mines, the forest and combat. Sinks, the gold mine. Forest upgrades, equipment, morph skills. Yeah. And that's pretty much what I had written as well. That was my breakdown of regions, equipment, some of the other stuff, tank skills, some of the other stuff. Okay, good. So Cool. We're just going to transition back there. Maybe like workers. Yeah. There's a thing in one of the games I was playing where you basically can buy temporary builders. Your town is upgraded and you always get one construction guy for free. That can, every job takes time and resources. But you can buy an additional worker to get essentially another queue going. Upgrading the tavern with wood. So then, like your base. But the question is then, why am I upgrading the tavern? Right? If the sinks, the one thing that's not called out in the notes here as the sinks and faucets were, or at least wasn't like in the notes, we weren't calling out the heroic points as a very clear currency. We are accumulating heroic points from the quest and spending them in the tavern. Better rewards, more deeds. I don't know. Just thought. So that's what I'm thinking. Like you could have some quests. You could have some quests in the tavern that were literally just like turn in wood, get a heroic point. But I'm actually more interested. I don't want to get tunnel vision on this just yet. If we get the version 1.0 out, there may be something just like the skill points currency or something we put in the 1.1 that like right as soon as we have these regions expand a little bit, right, then we have, can we double or triple the amount of wood sinks in the game? I would like it. I actually really like keeping here, and I'm just going to name it Tavern so we're all on the same page. I like the clarity that if you buy anything in the tavern, it is with heroic points. Let's see the nav bar. If you buy anything on the region screen, it's with wood. If you buy anything on the party screen, it is with gold. And eventually it would be like gold and skill points, right? Or you could even break out another page for that. But I like that clear kind of user experience. And then on combat, you're not really buying anything. You are simply doing a selection and then seeing the results. Let's see just a second. I'm just going to take that off for a second. Let's call that the tavern. Now let's go to our tavern for a second. Okay. Yeah, we'll look at the tavern here too. Call this tavern. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate our item. Let's see, our item upgrade or region upgrade. We'll do the item upgrade. I'm going to copy this file, what we were using to upgrade equipment, and make a I guess a tavern upgrade. I mean, it's not a bad idea. We can definitely run in, like, there are some problems that are nice to have, right? If we end up with players that simply have too much wood, we can solve the problem if and when that becomes an issue, right? And we'll find that out next week. But we don't have to solve it now, right? No one's actually played this, so we don't need to overthink it. Let them play, and we'll figure out the right time to do this. Cause sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. Item upgrade. I want to go to my here. I'll show some code for a little bit. I'm gonna go to not the combat screen. I think we'll probably put the combat screen on pause for tonight and instead take a look at this quest screen. Close the tick, close quests. This is the main view, okay. And I'm just gonna go ahead. For those interested, I'm using Vue. I'm using Bootstrap. Vue is just a JavaScript library, like or framework, or whatever, like React for building front-end web applications. We're going to go ahead and use Ionic next week to essentially act as a wrapper and get this on mobile. So if you're interested in becoming one of our beta testers, follow the channel. Join the right above me right here is the link to our website. It's a link there. You'll find the link to our Discord. Join the Discord, and then there's a Discord channel for Dura, and we'll take we'll put a call out for beta testers. Okay, sorry. Import. What am I doing? Tavern upgrade from components. Tavern upgrade. Okay, and then I'm going to say components tavern upgrade, and then in here I'm just going to do, I wanted this to lay out a little bit like, I guess I'll do it like this, div v4, I guess we'll call it upgrade in upgrades key upgrade ID, and then we'll go ahead and paste in the tavern upgrade, and we'll go ahead and vbind the upgrade. And all this is going to do is I'm going to build an interface very similar to the ones that we just saw, which is just boom, 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 import. I guess we're going to do tavern upgrades. I'm going to create a simple little data file for this. I want something that shows a number and gives me a button for upgrading it. Shows me how many times I've upgraded it and the cost, perhaps. And then we'll put in the functionality to spend heroic points. Oh, that's a good thing too. H1, heroic points, and then we'll go ahead and say points. Put that up in an H1. Import tavern upgrade from data tavern. Okay, is that all I need? Import tavern upgrade. Why is it yelling at me? And then in our data, we're going to return upgrades colon tavern. Oh, because this is, well, hold on. Is that because has it already been declared? I can't call it the same thing. I'll just call it tavern. This is just tavern data. Okay. And it's upset because I've not created a file called tavern data. Here, we'll just go ahead and create a new file called tavern.json, and that's going to be angry that's not there. All right, there you go. Tavern, heroic points, bam. Role, we don't have roles for the tavern. So the first one is going to be, I'm just going to call it the deeds, or the deed master. Label, deed master. Description, I don't know that we have one yet. It's going to take heroic points. It doesn't need a level. We are going to keep track of how many times we've bought it. Okay. So we'll get that on screen. And let's see. We'll close skills. We'll close the nav bar, the header. Item upgrade. We'll look at tavern. Now tavern upgrade is just a copy of our equipment upgrade component. We had a level, we had a stat amount. Okay, we don't need this column. This is upgrade. So what I have here is just, here, I'll show the transition here for a second. I'm gonna go back to party. What I've done is this kind of block right here with the level 1 Warhammer +2 damage and the upgrade button. I'm just copying that. I'm bringing that over into our tavern. And we're just going to copy the same sort of thing. There's going to be an ID, a label, a level. Let's see, we don't necessarily need a description. Is it detailed? We're going to upgrade these with heroic points, so I will get to that. Right now it's loading in with gold. Let's see what's going on. Tavern upgrades. Let's just see if our JSON data is loading. I may need to refresh. Nope, we have a bit of an error. Points is okay. Import map getters from Vuex, and we're going to create a computed. Oh, let me do the transition here. We're going to create a new currency here. Map. Can you guys see that? Let's see if I scroll down. Yeah, there you go. Map getters. We'll just call it points for now. I know we're going to call these heroic points, but I think points is fair. Let's go ahead and go into our store. We have gold, wood, we have skill points. I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to call these heroic points. And we'll just start out with, whatever, 100, so we can do a few purchases. We're keeping track of, let's see, upgrades. This is, let's see, regions. So this is tracking all regions. This is tracking all quests. This is item upgrades in the party. And we haven't done anything with stats. No, there we go. So this is the heroic points. So what we want is we need a couple things. Right now we just need a way to spend heroic points. So add points, just gonna take a minute, just copy, just duplicate the infrastructure we already have here. Oh, there's already a thing to manage points. Oh, I bet that was with skill points. That's fine. Yeah, that works. So this will be an array. Yep. Add region, add gold, do tick. Okay, that's all our tick. Upgrade item. So when we do upgrade tavern will, I guess, we're gonna have to add points. And we're gonna upgrade, hold on, upgrade points. Do I say that? Upgrade tavern, upgrade region. That's add point. This right here, actually, here, I'll move this down. I don't know that we're upgrading stats on anything. I think that was the idea with maybe some skills. Upgrade, or to upgrade like attributes separate from equipment. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade, I guess upgrade tavern. Here, and you know what? Here, okay. There's two things. I need to keep track. I just realized this. These are the heroic points, but I need to keep track of my tavern upgrades. Track tavern upgrades. So as things get spent, I've got an array over here for each of the different, keeping track of each of the different folks in the tavern that you can upgrade. Each purchase is only going to be one level at a time. Upgrade tavern. Okay, so upgrade tavern is great. Boom, boom, boom. Upgrade tavern. Great. Regions, quests, items. This is skills. Yeah, we're not doing stats at the moment. To be honest, we're not even doing skills, but I'm not going to take it out because the skills are technically rendering, like they're hidden. So I'll just leave that in there just for right now. Let's look at the tavern. The tavern, and we look at tavern data, and we're basically just going to do exactly what we do for the level. I think we're going to treat this just like we do with upgrading a region. Okay. All right. Just a second. So I'm going to actually go back to my tavern screen, which is main.view. And I'm actually going to grab the tavern data there. I go up here to the top of my screen. So my technique here, you'll see that I'm importing some item data, some skill data, some tavern data. Part of what makes the party is static. For example, the Warhammer. For the DPS, right? The two swords, right? That is not something dynamic. That's not going to change throughout the game. That is static, hard-coded data. What is going to change is the number of times I've upgraded it. So what I do here is I import my static JSON file, right? My static data, and in the getter here, as you can see, I keep track. Sorry, I keep track of the state. So for example, with items, I keep track of the number of times the items have been upgraded. So I have my static data. I keep track of how many times. The dynamic data is how many times the items have been upgraded. And I have a function here that's going to merge the two, right? It's just like having an array of every item in the game for my inventory, every item in the game. And then what I have over here is all I have to do is keep track of in my database is how many of what item. But the pixel art that's used for that item, the name of the item, maybe the cost to a vendor, all of that stuff is static. I don't need to store any of that. That's not going to change at all. So my technique here is to have my static data in a JSON file, and I just want to put into my kind of global state of the application the minimal amount of information you need to save. And in this case, it's simply how many times I've made a purchase. So, and then I have a function here that is going to combine the two. So for items, you can see I run a map, which is essentially a loop over every type of item. And then I just look in my state and say, hey, has it been upgraded or not? If it hasn't, then the default upgrades is 0, right? And that's just the level. Or I will assign that to be the value of the level. And that'll go out and then render out to the screen. Hey, you've got a level 7 Warhammer, for example. I'm also keeping track here. The actual costs to upgrade aren't hard-coded in the JSON file either. They're part of and they are the result of a function, result of an algorithm, and you can see that here. And so I'm creating those values on the fly, and I'm not hard-coding those in the file anywhere. So state. So I want this to actually, yeah. So this is actually state. State.test. So that's my technique for how I'm using the global state as well as hard-coded values. And it works really well for so far for all the different things. I'm using this structure for the regions, for the upgrades, for the items, eventually for skills, even for not for quests yet because they're sort of created on the fly. But eventually, as soon as we get combat in here, it'll definitely come in with like goblins, for example, or the mobs to fight. I'll end up pulling a static object for what a goblin is, taking a look at, hey, is this goblin, like, how many times have we completed this quest, right? How many times have we filled the bar? 4. Okay, if we filled it 4 times, then this is a level 5 goblin, right? And then through the result of a function, I'll figure out, okay, this is the hit points for that goblin, the attack of that goblin, the dodge of that goblin, etc. But the only thing I actually have to hard code are some of the, the static metadata for the goblin, right? What's the base? What are the base stats for a level 1 goblin? Everything else I can compute later. Return tavern. I actually don't like using tavern as a whenever I do stuff in an array, I like to have a name that's very clear to be plural. That way, when you do it in a loop, it's very easy to see the singular of that. So upgrade, upgrades, and then we're basically just making, oops. All right, and then this is upgrade. State tavern. What is this? And you're going through there, and then you're looking for the upgrades in there, and then I guess you're just honestly setting this to be the level. Oh, but now I've created a bit of a problem there. And we're using the same variable name. It's okay. We'll just fix this. Just take this, put it here, and what did it do? It just put it in parentheses for fun. There we go. Upgrade. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. I'm going to pop over to my tavern JSON. I've got the deed master. Let's go ahead and create a couple more. We have, what is it, for gathering? So for regions, or actually specifically gathering. And this is, yeah, so gathering is like the gathering cap. So I'm going to call this guy the, like, what do you call, like, the foreman or someone at a build site? And then the next one would be like the smith. And okay, so boom, 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 those all have separate IDs. Cool. Now if we do the transition, we need to go into our, here, I'll do one more thing. Just as soon as the view is working, I'll show it. Our main view is saying tavern is not defined. Okay, that's because we're now going to be pulling our data not from there, but from, we're going to pull points and tavern. Okay, we're going to refresh. Points. Here, hold on. It didn't like point. Oh, when I created the getter, here you go. Boop. This is going to be points. For anyone watching and curious, Slyboots Games, Slyboot Studios does not do microtransactions, ads. We don't use third-party libraries for analytical data or cookies or anything like that. The games are intended to be free. We are Patreon sponsored. Again, the website right above there has a link to the Discord. Join the Discord. Follow the Twitch. Follow the YouTube. Support us on Patreon. I'll just go ahead and plug that as well. We want to create a studio that makes games that lets you immerse into the game without disturbing you with an ad or essentially designing inconvenience for you to have to pay money, microtransaction or something like that, in order to get the convenience and therefore have fun. I want, when you open up one of our games, to just play the game and not worry about, hey, how much money do I need to put in? So there it is. I've got 100 heroic points, so that's exciting. Oh, you guys can't see that. There you go. Heroic points. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to set this down to an H6. We'll make it a bit smaller. And we'll go ahead and do like a span class badge bg info, I guess. I just want to make that call out a little bit more. You can hardly see that, so I'm just gonna, we'll just do this. Bam, the big purple box, 100. But also tell your friends and subscribe on Twitch. I think something fun gets to happen as soon as I get 50 subscribers. Not exactly sure, but you know, 50 followers or something like that on Twitch. It's a good time. Good time. Let's see. Okay. Now what we want to do is so tavern, not upgrades. Tavern. Let's go ahead and see. There we go. Level 0 deed master, level 0 foreman, level 0 smith, and they have an upgrade button, and right now they are asking for gold, and it's not rendering the cost. Oh shoot, do I not even do that on, oh, I took out the code apparently, even here, to mention how much the actual upgrade cost was. Whoops. Here, hold on. I clearly have the upgrade cost. Let's see, that's tavern upgrade. Whoops, let me bring that over to item upgrade. I was, a couple days ago, I was trying to do this particular item upgrade, and there ended up being, oh yeah, you can see it here. You can see I created a few extra elements. It'll render here now. I wanted it, so there's the 14 gold it costs to upgrade, and then I was trying to show that you're going to get 2 additional damage, right? And then 3 additional damage, and it just got a little crowded there, as you can see, but I ended up being a little too liberal with that comment. I want to keep the gold cost visible. Let me see if I move this here and get rid of this. Will that work? Nested oh, I see what it didn't like that. Okay, what about this? Okay, and I'll do what, like a margin start of 1. Yeah, okay, that looks better. So you now see the gold cost. Let me go ahead and copy that, bring that over to the tavern upgrade, paste it in there. We'll go back to tavern. Okay, that didn't work. Hold on. What's the difference between our tavern upgrade and our item upgrade? Where did I put it? Deflex justify content, and then in tavern upgrade, there it is. Okay, this is so funny. I literally copied it from row, column. Hold on, just compare. Oh, okay, almost. Bear with me. Bootstrap code at 10:30 at night. Let's see if there we go. There we go. So now we have the 10 gold, and if I upgrade gold, oh, what is this trying to do? This is trying to upgrade item. Oh, that's funny. Here, let's go. Let's look back at the code for a second. This is our tavern upgrade, so we're going to actually call a function called upgrade tavern. And the upgrade cost, we actually don't want it to be gold anymore, but we want it to be points. The upgrade cost, it's going to be a very simple, same math equation that we've been using. Can't afford, so this is going to be points. The button is going to disable when we can't afford it, which we've seen a little earlier. Points, upgrade cost, and then the map. So the button. So sorry, when I click the button, it's going to be upgrade tavern. Okay, let's totally see if this works. Oh, except this. Let's go ahead. Let's call our heroic points purple, but it's going to stick right now. And then if I click this, okay, we have an issue there. Nice little error. Oh, sorry, you guys didn't see that. When I click the button, I got an error, which is always a fun time. Let's go back here. It says add points is not a function. Add points. That's because I got a little confused here because I'm getting kind of tired. Add points needs to be just like you were adding wood. And this may seem a little silly to some of you. I just have a function for adding resources. I don't have a function for subtracting them. All I do is I add a negative number. That's all I do. So I don't have to have two functions, one for adding, one for subtracting. It's just that when I make, you'll see here, when I go ahead and make a transaction like upgrade tavern here, I just add points, but I just put a negative sign in front of the cost. That's all. So the cost is fine, and then this right here is the thing that says, hey, now I want you to subtract it. If I just for those of you interested in game development and where to put certain logical checks and stuff like this, right now my front end is like that component is the thing determining whether or not I can click the button. If someone was to figure out how to call this particular function another way, you would be able to, there's nothing happening in this function that actually asks, can I afford it? Right? Do I have enough points that when I do this transaction, it's going to stay positive? Or at least be equal to 0. There's none of that. If I wanted to be more thorough, I would put that check in here as well. If this was a multiplayer game, none of this would be happening here. It would all be happening on the server. And the checks would be much more stringent on things like that. But this is going to be a front end game, and I don't care if anyone figures out how to memory hack it or anything like that. Let's go ahead and okay. So I was able to spend the points, but I'm not getting the upgrades yet. Let's figure out that. So Tavern is still saying it's level 0 even after the purchase. Here's Tavern. Upgrade Tavern states boom, 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 boom. Okay. That should be fine. And when I purchase, where is it? Sorry. Upgrade Tavern, it passes in the payload. Upgrade Tavern. I'm getting an error on the browser saying property upgrades was accessed during the render but is not defined on the instance. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. And the tavern, it looks like tavern data. And I'm mapping in. Okay. One thing I will actually do as well, on the tavern view, I'm just going to print out the whole tavern object. What that looks like is this. Okay. Property upgrades. Okay, upgrades was accessed during the render. Here, I'm going to refresh and we'll try this again. Upgrades was accessed during the render but is not defined on the instance. Okay. Oh, that's an error because I'm trying to print out upgrades there. Okay. Let's refresh and see what's going on. Okay, now we have nothing. Okay. So I'm able to subtract correctly. Let's go into here. State tavern upgrade level, or it's equal to 0. I mean, this right here basically is the root of our issue here. Let's do this. Let levels equals blunt, and then we say levels. Let's just see what's going on here. Levels. Okay, and we go ahead and upgrade 0, 0, 0. So our state is not keeping track of, okay, our state is not keeping track of the upgrade. So let's take a look at upgrades. If the payload and the payload key, oh, we probably don't have a payload key. It's a payload ID. That's why. It's fun when you copy certain code that's not correct. Now it works. Yep. Okay, so to explain that, simply our function here that was responsible for recording the upgrade, the tavern, instead of the payload was passing in the ID of the tavern upgrade, but instead of ID I had key because I had copy and pasted a different function and forgot to upgrade it. So it wasn't properly recording it to the array. Once I changed it to ID, this works fine. If an existing upgrade already exists, we increment it by 1. Otherwise, this is the first time we've purchased the upgrade and it sets the level to 1. So that's all we needed to do there. Come back down here at the bottom. Let's get rid of some of these console logs. We don't need it. Save, close, save, close, save, close. And at least for this evening, we have built the front of our tavern. So what'll be nice is that what I'm hoping is that next week, like on our party screen here, we have little sprite icons for these different items, right? In combat, we have some sprite icons for the different mobs we're fighting. In tavern, we have a little portrait here of who the deed master is, the foreman, the smith. Even here in the party, we put a little explanation and a little sprite that you could choose, like what is the character of your tank, of your DPS, and your support class. Okay, so cool. Okay, so this is working. This is working, and the nice thing here is we can. So this is how we do. So this is like upgrades, right? So you know, whatever. This is upgrades, and we could put heroic points up in the top, but I think they're probably fine for right here. And then what I would say here too is quests, and quests I would sort of consider almost like achievements or tasks, and so we'd need, hold on, what did I do? There you go. What I'm happy to, we've been showing it all night. On the left there is how to look on mobile, and I can actually, let's see, I can actually put this into mobile mode. Yeah, there you go. Oops, sorry. As soon as I close that, it quits out. Let's put it in the dimension of what, like an iPhone 12? Okay. Is that the proper zoom? Yeah, 100% zoom. Okay. So the game will work, right? You just scroll a little bit. That'll be the nature of the game, right? If I have, the more regions I have, it's just going to scroll. I mean, listen, we acknowledge this may not be the this isn't the best user interface. We're definitely, we're just focused on shipping here, right? We want to try to get a game. This is a game at this moment. I mean, this has taken a lot of inspiration and perhaps even copying some good chunks of code over from Pyroclasm. But this right now is a game that probably has less than a dozen hours of development, right? Like, this is essentially something I knocked out in 1 week in just maybe like 3 or 4 evenings. A lot of stuff copied over from Pyroclasm, but at the same time, we're not bringing over too many of the complex systems or anything like that, right? We just hooked up a couple of faucets. We hooked up some sinks. It's nearly the same sync logic for all our sinks, upgrading land, upgrading equipment, upgrading the heroes. So we save a lot of energy there. Let's go ahead and try something. Do we play around with a little bit of the combat? I don't know. Let me think. Let's see, just over an hour into this. Okay. Yeah. Let's at least hook into the combat to at least keep track of which quest you are doing. Oops, let me go ahead and move that. All right. So what I want to do here, and this goblin thing, as you see right here on the screen, here, let me just zoom in here. I have like a handful of elements here. I've got the name of the goblin, kind of the level or tier, the progress bar, whether or not I'm fighting it. Now that can be accomplished by simply the background or something like that, right? In a big list of these things, I can easily indicate with a color or something like that, or even the one I'm always fighting being at the top with a bit of a background color, and then all the ones below that. Selecting it, I like this little button here, select, but we can figure out something there. If I gave it even a little bit more room here, in the combat screen, let me just give it like a little bit more room there. But as well, from the region screen, I want a way for you to like see the regions and see, oh, I have this. I don't know that it's that critical, actually. Okay, I mean, is it actually important at the moment to know which quest? I know I had some future plans for this. I don't know if you stated this, but you can do filtering. I don't know what you would filter for. I think a sort would be better than a filter. Could you sort so you rank them like your level 1s to your level X's? That way, if you wanted your nice quick fights out of the way, you could do that. Or if there was a better loot table, you're like, hey, give me my hardest fights. There could definitely be filters. You know when filters would come into play? When you put loot tables in. Because then you're like, hey, when I'm looking for this particular drop, show me the fights that are that could potentially do that one. I'm gonna ask this question. Looking at this screen, let's have just a quick discussion about this screen. Each region provides us one mob to fight. But it isn't actually important, at least in our MVP design, to know that this goblin is related to the hinterland and this goblin's related to the crag. It isn't. We could simplify this screen by not showing the goblins at all, and instead, on our combat screen, just listing them all. And that way we don't have to build, at least in our version 1.0, a way to like get over from the region screen to the combat screen. At the moment, like when that bar fills, you earn a heroic point, and it doesn't matter if it was the hinterland one or the crag or the ridge. And there's already a number of things on this screen for you to click on and worry about. If we could take off for those elements, let's just try that. If I go into my, here I'm going to show you guys. Everything's pretty much a component in view. Right, there's our quest summary. That's what I called it in my mind. These things were quests, but now it's more combat. I mean, we don't have to delete code. I can just put a VF0. So what I really like about this is it's very easy to prototype, and I don't have to rip out any code. I'm just going to tell the thing to stop rendering. And now look at the screen. Right? It's just that. I like that. Let's keep it like that. And over here in combat, obviously you're not fighting. So let me go into the quest summary here for a second. Obviously I'm not fighting. I would only be fighting one. So let me just hide that tag. I have the goblin level. I have the progress bar. And I mean, see, this is really interesting because there's like a whole bunch of like extra elements here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually duplicate this file. Just a second. Copy. Just because I'm about to hack this thing apart and I want to preserve where I am. So I'm actually going to try to put as much into the progress bar as I can. I'm going to grab the mob name and the level. Okay, and just put this whole thing here. I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing. I'm going to grab that. So the progress bar has an amount for progress and a label. And right now it says tier and it's showing tier, but I'm actually going to do this. Oh, and we wanted to show what? Mob level, blah, and then we wanted to show, was it mob? And we get rid of this top div. And we get rid of the restriction on the progress bar. And the whole thing really just becomes, oops, I'm actually editing the wrong one here. I'm going to do this. Rename this to quest summary version 2. What's that? If you have level, you don't need to. Yes, of course. That was some leftover cruft. I would have got rid of one of them. Combat view, and then so quest summary. Let's do, and let's look at this. Right, so now it's just a progress bar. It's just a progress bar. It says level 1 goblins, and if I go in, hold on. Where is it? Level. Let me close that. Version 2. Level 1 mob. And then what is it, like the 2? Can I do this? 2 uppercase? Oh, that made it capitalized. I don't want to do that. Can I could put a class. Yeah. Let me work this out. Hold on. Let me go into my progress bar and just add a capital class on the label. Text, capitalize. Yeah, there you go. Level 1 goblin. And then let's just get rid of the fact that this is a row. Why is there, I want to get rid of that, the whole, then we have that button. Why is, what am I missing? Why is it, oh, the border, let's get rid of the borders. Okay, because what I'm now imagining, this might look nice, right? I can make these a bit bigger, but if we just put the, well, let's see, hold on. There's like a flex grid for this. That we just have two elements, don't we? We have the deflex. Yo, that's, you didn't like that. Here, let's see, class. There's a nice way to do this. The progress bar shrinks down if it can. There you go. There you go. Yeah, the dgrid. Yeah, so the deflex did it. Here, hold on. I'll show you. Deflex with 100, and then the progress bar fills the width 100, but then it's also making room for, oh, and that doesn't need to be a call, and making room for this button. And what I like about this is, what can I do? I can do a margin. Here, we'll do this. Like a margin N2. Okay. And why is there padding? Let's see. If we do, what, like margin top 2? So shrink it down, margin top 1. There you go. What do you think of something like that? Because now, instead of those buttons, you could do like, you can make it look, actually there's a way to do this. Because right now, what are those? It's text. Can I do text warning to change one of them yellow? Oh, it can make them all yellow. So now what I can do is I'm just going to bind a class. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to bind a class to say, I'm going to use the text warning class, or even, see, danger would be good, but I don't, that the red is hard to see. If is fighting. And we'll go ahead and close it. So hold on. If I, oh, and of course none of them are fighting yet. None of them are fighting. Oh, I broke some. Oh, it's because why is this so weird looking? Oh, it's because, ooh, yikes. Hold on. View. This is actual size. That is too damn tiny. I need to change the, let's see, what do you see? I think there should be more spacing between each progress, maybe like an MB3 or 4. I think what I need to do is two things. I need to increase the size of the progress bar. Let's see if I put a height in here. Oh, I forgot. I made a thin version. What happens? I gave a prop of what is it? Thin equals true. What does that look like? So what this does is it makes a line underneath something. I like the other one. But what I need to do is I need to make them bigger, actual size. I need to make them bigger. Progress bar. I'm going to create a version 2 of the progress bar. Copy, paste. Height, yeah. Yeah, so version 2 will have a settable height. So if I go to my combat page, I'm just going to use quest summary v2, and quest summary is going to use progress bar v2, and that's fine. Close progress bar, make sure we don't edit anything there. Let's just see, style height 25 pixels. Okay, we want the I need to go inside the progress bar itself, v2, and make this change. Figure out what element in this thing is going to control. That's going to do spacing. That's not what I want. Class thin bar. Oh, is it this? There we go. Yep, that made it bigger. Let's go 30. Here, let's also keep in mind, let's take a look at what this looks like on mobile. Oh, that is not going to work at all on mobile. If I go to combat, we're going to do a column 12, but a column small of 4. So on mobile, we should have full width. There we go. That looks nice. Margin top 1, Margin bottom 3. Yeah, there you go. That'll space it out a bit. Your button link. Man, that is so small. Why is it? It's so small. This button link. You know why? It's probably because it's we're using Bootstrap icons. Hold on just a sec. Bootstrap icons. There's a way to boost up the size there. Let's just open up one of these. It's where's the sizing? Styling. Is there not a class? Can't I just do like the font size class on it? Yeah, the header class. So not the header, but the font size. But yes, I mean the header does the same thing. The header just comes with bottom padding. But yes, so it's an I tag. So we want to do font size 3. Big arrows. Look at that, big arrows. And then progress bar. Let's go for 35 pixels. Yeah, 35. Oh, let's go 40 pixels. I'm liking this. Okay, 40 pixels. Yeah, but look at that tiny text. What the fuck? How can I get so the text is, there's some like padding there. This is almost like why I gotta size everything different, right? This is why just looking to see if there's some padding somewhere. It's right there. So justify content, width 100, text white, deflex position absolute. Width 100. And that's height 40. I wonder. I mean, is it just a matter of font size? Yeah. Easy. Where's the label? That was a span with justify content center. It's this one. So all we want to do on this one is drop, what, like a font size 3? Bam. Okay, that is readable. What if we also took off, okay, this is content center. I guess it needs to be. I can also actually make that a bit smaller because you don't want to like not be able to. Oh, the other thing we don't need to do. We don't need to show. We don't need the show progress. Hold on. Show progress is true. No, I want to flip that to false. There you go. There you go. And if we just did, what is it, text start, what would happen? Is that going to go over? Justify content start. And with a margin start of 3. That looks good. Can you align it so the button's in the middle? Yeah. I'll get the vertical until the numbers get the bigger. So this works. I don't want to show the number. Like the progress itself. I don't want the user to get too hung up on that. And let's actually, here, I'll show you guys something. Let's go into our quest creation. And that's actually like a really bright, let's see. I want, here, I'll show for a second. There's a function I have here for quests, for when I generate these quests. And the progress is 0. And I'm just going to do here we go. I'm just going to generate a number between 1 and 50. We'll go with 75. So you guys can see what these things look like. Let me transition back. And I'll get out of that mode. Yeah, so it's automatically up. So that's what it'll look like as it fills up. I'm gonna try a couple more things. Progress bar. Let's just shrink down the size a little bit. There we go. There we go. I think this is pretty nice. Now on mobile, it takes up the full width, and when you click this button, and I'll say something like this. Quest summary is fighting, and then I'm going to say is fighting Boolean. Main. Sorry, what I'd like to show is that the first one is the one you're fighting. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe this can always be in order, and then we just call out. That way the structure isn't... I don't know. It would be... Because the one you're fighting is obviously going to take up the rest of the screen with the details of the combat. Yeah, and then this is just a list. Yeah. Could definitely add a hover, like a V2 for showing the number. Yeah, I don't need the number. The number is going to change. It's going to start off at 100 and be 2. I mean, as a player, it doesn't matter what the number is. Like, it's not really. You just know that every time you fill the bar, the next fill is going to take longer. We could add a hover. That's fine. I think after your first hour playing the game, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to pick one of these things to fight, and at some point, you'll have filled the bar. So the other thing too, that we're, this is where we want to focus on shipping, and then we can get user feedback. This over here can literally just be a list of the things to fight, and then on the right side we can have some, like, a more in-depth progress bar that has the numbers, that has the details, because you have much more room. I kind of like this because this is like Elithor with its... actually, let's just take a look at that for a second. Unfortunately, I've completed all the quests, so my Elithor doesn't look as useful for this. Oh, and I don't have any of that open right now. But yeah, they do here. I'm just gonna see. I bet this isn't gonna work if I do the thin version. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna keep it the way it is. I would like to do one more thing before I kind of call it for a night, and that is I would love to change our to add to our state the ability to set one of these combat. And what I need to do right now, for the sake of everyone, I need to change quest to combat. That's a big refactor. I don't want to actually do that right now. So when the code says quest, it means combat, not what is happening in the tavern screen. But we're going to say active quest ID. And we're just going to set it to be a blank string for now. And we're going to have a function. I sent a screenshot of my Elithor request. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to make just one more change, and then we're going to call it a night. Oh, sorry. It wasn't the Elithor quest that I wanted, but the compendium. The way with the bars, where you have to kill X amount of mobs, and every time you fill the bar, you go up a tier to a max of 3 tiers. It's all good. And each time the bar color changes, the color signifies the rank. I think we could do something like that as well. The first 5 times you fill the bar, it's one color. The next 5, it's another color. The next 5, it's another color. For those of you that played Diablo 1, the first 5 levels had the same aesthetic and graphics, and the next 5 levels had a different one. Then the next 5 levels were different. Yeah. And so you felt this, like, as you went down a few levels, it didn't change floor to floor, but when you went down a total of 5, then you realized you were in a whole different part of the cathedral, and so that was pretty cool. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna just focus on this code here for a second. Add quest. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pretty much do is something called, we're just setting, set active quest ID, and it's just going to be a value, and we're just going to grab this, and it's not going to be an additive value, we're just going to set that to be the value. We need an action, set active quest ID, set active quest ID. This is just going to be the value. Come on, double click, there you go. Set active quest ID, set active quest ID, and then what I want is a getter for the active quest ID. Now we're going to have two getters, in fact, that have to do with the active quest ID. The first is just that, so at any point I could just pull up the active quest ID. The other one is right here, and I saved this map just for this one. As I iterate through the quests, the combat, one of these is going to be the one that I am currently fighting. And we're just going to remap the data. It's going to be quest dot, what is it, is fighting. So first we're just going to make sure they're all false, and then, oh, actually I can do this at the same time. This is quite simple. It's just going to be just the quest ID equal the state active quest ID. That's it. The result of that is either going to be true or false. And anytime it changes, it's going to rerun this computed. So anything that we were fighting flips back to false. So this will be nice. This will be nice. Okay, this is going to look really nice here in a second, because this is already hooked up to our view. All we need to do here is go into, is it quest summary? Yes. We need to put an on-click event on this button. Set active quest ID, and we just need to pass in the ID of this quest, right? And then we just need to say, do we have Vuex in here? No. We need to import the action for Vuex, and down here in the methods we're going to map set active quest ID, and that's it. We should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and add a few more of these. There it is. It changed red. There it is. So what's happening when I click the button, I'm telling my state manager, Vuex, I would like to set this ID as the active quest ID. Then our Vuex getter is re-rendering our list of all our quests, this time mapping over the is fighting property to whatever is matching the active quest ID. And then the template is saying, hey, if it is set to is fighting, we're going to go ahead and render this as red instead of blue. So that's awesome. That's awesome. If I go to my combat screen, I'm going to do something just a little bit better. I'm already pulling up a list of all the quests, but I'm gonna just create one right here called active quest. I could do this in Vuex. I could have another computed, another getter that just gives me the details of the active quest, but I'm already pulling the full quest list into the view. So I can just do a real quick computed here that just acts essentially like a filter, or return quests, and we're just gonna filter, or actually just find the quest where the quest is fighting. That's it. And then all we have to do here, I'm just going to dump the whole object, active quest. So let's see, sorry, this.quests. So it's right there. There's the details, and you can't see it, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a bit bigger. goblins, progress 57, tier 1 is fighting true, and then the ID. And if I switch to here, I'm going to switch to orcs. So now, as you can imagine, tomorrow we'll work on a view here on how to render out the details of this combat, what's happening each tick, factoring in some visualization for the current state of the party. Yeah, but anyway, so we've rigged up this evening. We've built a tavern view. We built a way to spend heroic points. We simplified the region view by removing we remove. Oh, I'm not sharing. Thanks. Okay, sorry. This evening we built the tavern view, implemented implemented heroic points and a way to spend them, a way to upgrade our tavern folks. We simplified the region view by removing the actual combat mob portion of this, and that's fine. We haven't yet put any cap here on the upgrades, and so we'll do that in the next couple days. We went over this part. I was missing the gold, mentioning that. So we added in that. We'll add in the caps as well for the upgrades in the next couple days. The last thing was we did some work here on the combat view, making this both visually look well as being able to assign which of my mobs I am fighting. So tomorrow we'll dive in. The priority is going to be anything that is where there's a large chunk of content missing, right? The players need to see something here. It's okay if it's not balanced. It's okay if it's not capped. We can't have a big section of the page just still missing. So the priority tomorrow is going to be the combat, and ultimately the source of our heroic points. So the moment we tie combat in with the tick message, we have completed our full macro game loop. Every sync is connected to every faucet. So that'll be where we pick up tomorrow. Thank you everyone for participating in this. Again, the URL is above. Join the Discord. The game will be on. We're hoping to get code complete in the next couple days. The next week is just polished with some graphics, maybe some background music, who knows. And then publishing it to the app stores. The game will be free, no ads, no analytics, no cookies, no third party and oh my gosh, third party stuff. No ads, no microtransactions. We're just Patreon and Coffee funded. The links of which will be in the game, but they're also linked on the website. So exciting stuff. Thank you everyone for watching this. It's been a productive hour and 40 minutes. We got a lot done. So yeah, join the Discord. I announce whenever I stream, and so there'll be some more tomorrow and possibly some on Friday as well. So all right, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful night.